Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just to start with an analogy that I'm pretty sure we've all heard, the idea of the way our lives kind of flow like water from at different stages of our day or our time. And you know, we flow from a still pool to an active stream to maybe a stream where there's a whirlpool, and then we move on through. We're all like the water, but we take different forms, and we are aware of the different ways that we can perceive the same thing. It goes even as far as some Zen masters talking about the idea of the similarities between water and ice, and that we're the same, but the form changes, but underneath it all remains a consistent way of water. And the reason that I'm using that is just for a kind of an analogy for what, you know, most of us in this room were part of our retreat yesterday. And it was like every retreat I've ever had here or been a part of here. It really gives me a chance to kind of re-energize and, you know, do some things that I'm just not able to do in my daily meditation practice at home. It's different here when you make the conscious effort to drive up the road, come in, sit in that zendo, and embrace the still, quiet moments that are part of a retreat. And today, using the water analogy, I kind of feel like a whirlpool. You know, more so than in past retreats. I'm a little unsettled, which, on the surface of it, you think, well, why would you go do the retreat if the result the next day is that you're kind of muddled and foggy and what's that all about? And I just don't feel quite like myself this morning. And I think that it's one of those things that you could really, if you look at meditation and you look at intensely focused sitting in stillness and quiet, much like the idea that if we didn't have the hamster wheel of samsara, we wouldn't really we wouldn't have enlightenment, we wouldn't have awakening, because there would be nothing to awaken to. You know, we would have this purified, perfect state that we think we want, and really, it's just one of those things that has another side to it that we need to be mindful of. And like I say, yesterday was a busy day. We did some very good work, I think, in the zendo. A tree came up, Terry Tam Pho was there. Roshi helped us along the way with conversations about our practice and what we were going through. So it was a wonderful sort of a group effort. And I was just struck by the stillness and quiet of it all, in a sense. And actually, the thing that, you know, if you have a still, quiet day of sitting meditation, and you have a kind of a good feeling about how things are going, and well, that was kind of interesting. Then, of course, all you need to do is wait around a little bit for something to happen. And after our day yesterday, Roshi took some time with a bhikkhuni, a Buddhist nun, who had some concerns about performing a memorial service for a couple that had not passed yet, but had to make some decisions about how they were going to do all that. And one of the individuals in her congregation was a veteran, and she wanted Roshi's input about how best to proceed in the conversation with it, with what is obviously, with all of us, is a difficult conversation. Like, what are we going to do? You know, I mean, I'm old enough to have a directive and a will and all those other good things, but do I have one yet? Okay. But I understand the importance of that. Just I haven't quite got around to it yet. I have to go to the retreat. So, anyways, we finally get to the day, and it's getting dark, and it's calm, and sometimes I know that they're really. This makes me think about the idea of suffering that necessarily might present itself as suffering, but this is once again the idea of mindfulness, like getting a flat tire and understanding that fixing that flat tire in front of your house or taking it down to the Walmart around the corner or whatever, that's okay. If it happened at a different time in a different place, you'd have different circumstances, like off the side of the road of the 15 on the way up here or something like that. But my silence was broken by a phone call, well, not a phone call, a message. Because at 5:30 I figured I'm off the clock, I'll go get the phone. I get the phone, I open the deal, there's a message. It's a message from my brother Tim. And I'm pretty close to all four of my brothers, but I'm probably the closest to my brother Tim. He lives in Las Vegas. And we've shared some great moments in our lives. You know, at the age of 15, before he had his driver's license, and at the age of 18, right after I got mine, we were in the same car wreck together. I mean, you got to give to your brother like that. And we both survived it and got to Grandma's house for Thanksgiving dinner, and it all worked out, you know. And then, darn near, I don't know, 30 years later, we were part of he's a skilled guy and has a great motorcycle that he let me ride for the first time in 20 years, but I was able to put down sideways on a road about an hour from the emergency room in Las Vegas. So we shared our first motorcycle accident together, and we kind of made that one okay. That one worked out okay in the end. So we have a pretty tight bond throughout our years, and he's, like I say, 3 years younger than me. And yesterday, I figured I'll just call him back. I called him back. We spent a long time, too long probably, talking about stuff that old guys talk about. You know, I talked about I tore my calf, and I went in and they took PT, and I was using a cane, and I went in, and then my doctor told me I needed to have a cardio checkup, and so they did the EKG, and they did a ultrasound of my heart and all that other stuff. And then he told me about how his 2 hip transplants are going, and you know, all the kind of stuff that you just talk about. And I really was, I had after the stillness and the silence, had a very nice moment just in conversation with my brother. This whole idea of meditation, sitting in stillness and quiet, is the way in a daily practice, or even even if we don't have a daily practice, if we're able to catch a moment where we can pay attention, this helps us get into a quiet place where we can be more empathetic and compassionate with ourselves, and then move those feelings out into our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our friends. Everybody in our world benefits from our meditation. We don't do it so that they'll benefit from our meditation consciously. It's a wonderful, magical byproduct of sitting in regular meditation, that we're able to see, like that stream, how we're all connected. So we spend some time in the tranquil pool, looking out at a very still, calm scene of a pool of water, and then we're rushed back into our daily existence and these what we'd call life, actually, constantly reoccurring, ruminating thoughts that then take us to places where we're not mindful. We can't stop. We can't understand that I need to take a breath. I need a still moment. I need to just sit with this for just a second, just to see what it really is. And so to me, it's interesting that when you do a day or so of that the net result is this kind of disorientation, if you will, because we come to a natural state of dissatisfaction, of worrying about a situation at our home or with our kids or whatever, and our refuge is there. That's why we call them the three jewels: the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. They're there for us if we remember about that we can take refuge in them and turn the light, as Dogen said, inside and uncover our Buddha nature. To see it, because it's there. It's always there. It's there in all of us all the time. But the things just get piled over that we can't really access it sometimes. And so hopefully we're able to see that happening and take the time that we need to become still, become quiet, and then mindfully, not trying to control anything, because that's the other thing that Buddhism, that's the other place Buddhism is different in the world, is it does talk about how we might suffer, how we might feel dissatisfied, but it admits two things: that we can't control that, and so to think that we can control it just really adds to the problem. But in and through meditation and contemplative thinking and compassion for others, we can get to that spot where we see our true nature. And it's not one of those starts here, stops here sorts of things. It's one thing that is, if you're a Buddhist, you have to kind of get used to the idea that you're going to be doing this for a while. And you know, if you look at how it can work, if you really dedicate yourself to the idea of a daily practice, it will help you greatly to be more aware of what it is that's kind of got you agitated now. So I guess my point in all this is, because we all were able to sit the meditation and come to finish the idea taking some still, quiet time for ourselves, that when we get back to real life, sometimes we have a good interruption, like a call from a brother or a friend or those things, or we get into a situation where we get together with friends and maybe play a board game, do something that's fun, and that also is different than the meditation process, but is and not really samsaric, because we're enjoying ourselves during that time. We're having a good time connecting with others. And through that connection, we build compassion. Through that connection, we understand the value and quality of sitting still for a brief amount of time. So I'm going to make this probably shorter than normal, but my question to you, or my suggestion to you, is the idea that you take a moment, move down close to a quiet, still point of the shore, and sit and contemplate the still, quiet nature of a pond or a pool that you have in your mind, and to, go into those meditative states as best you can on a daily basis, and then pick up the phone and call your brother or your best friend or your mother or someone you care about, and in a sense kind of have the experience, and then solidify it in the world with someone you care about and have compassion for. Thank you.